Hey, this is Charles Van, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by the returning Scream Queen, actress, singer, songwriter, I think she's now an action figure, Victoria DeMar.
Woo! Yeah. Thank you, Neal, for having me back.
Thank you for coming back. It's almost like 10 years to the day. Almost.
Yeah, it's like an anniversary. This is fantastic.
Yeah, it's like some kind of like a horror movie that you return every 10 years or something like that. But hopefully next time.
I love it.
Hopefully next time it's quicker than 10 years. But I did mention.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going, so this is good.
Right. So I did mention the action figure, which I saw on Facebook, which is really cool. I guess not necessary action since it doesn't move, but a figure of Batty Boop. What's that like to see yourself as a figure?
Oh, Neal, it's beyond mind-blowing. It's kind of surreal. She's a little resin doll statue, so it's like an action figure. I mean, any little toy like that, whether the parts move on it or not, is an action figure to me. It's action figure size.
Yes.
But no, her parts don't move. She is just a little doll statue. But, you know, I've been in this business about 20 years. I've had an 18-year career. So for something like this to happen, it's kind of like a reality check. Like, okay, like when people are like, so what have you done? I can be like, I'm a doll, bitch. You know, like at least I have something that I feel like that's very significant that I had the opportunity to accomplish. And I'm just so grateful to John LeChalgo and Charles Van and Full Moon Collectibles to see the box of hundreds upon thousands of little baddies, little me's, all getting packaged up and shipped from China was like, it was crazy. It made me cry. It made me actually well up in tears because I was like, this is insanely amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I mean, I thought it was wild for you. Never, you know, and I can't imagine what you thought when you saw it. What about when you took on the role of Batty Boop? How did you get into the role? What interested you, and did you foresee doing it over multiple films?
You know, my longtime colleague and friend, John LeChalgo, was contacted by Charlie Band to direct Killjoy 3 or Killjoy's Revenge. There hadn't been a Killjoy. They had done 1 and 2, and there hadn't been a Killjoy for quite some time. I think the second one was actually released in 2002, and this was 2009, so it had been quite some time. And John LeChalgo was just really amazing and really fun and really funny, and he kind of took the series and really twisted it into more of a horror comedy, and he wanted to add some characters to Killjoy's posse. Of course, if you're summoning Killjoy to come up from the depths of hell, you're summoning a clown of vengeance, and a demon clown of vengeance and revenge. So this was Killjoy 3, a.k.a. Killjoy's Revenge, and John decided to throw in a posse, like I said, and he thought, well, he has to have a badass bitch at his side. He's got to have a girlfriend in this one. So when John created Batty Boop, he specifically created her with me in mind, which, any screenwriter or filmmaker contacts you and says, hey, I wrote a role or character with you in mind. You're like, I'll take it. Like, are you kidding? Like, what? This is a joke. So I was like, oh, my God. And then when I read it, I was like, oh, my God, are you serious? And he was like, just go with this. Just, to take creative license. Just, I want her to sound a certain way. I want her to look a certain way. Are you okay with doing full body, full nude, like body paint? And I'm like, let's do it. He's like, I knew you were basically one of the only actors I knew that had the balls to like do that and be able to like create a character but not be like self-conscious on set, like, shit, I'm naked, what I mean? Like, so I was like, let's do it. And then like he's like, I want to utilize her dance background, so she's got to move a certain way and just like go. And so I just kind of created her from the feet up, and we did a lot of makeup tests with Tom Devlin from the FX show Face Off, if people are fans of or familiar with that. And John LeChalgo is a fine artist, so he had already drawn her and sketched her out, and Tom just came in, and the two of them came up with a beautiful design for the third one. When she came back in Killjoy 4, which was Killjoy Goes to Hell, and the final film, Killjoy 5, Killjoy's Psycho Circus, the paint and the design changed a little bit, and it worked because her character was kind of evolving.
Mm-hmm. How long does it actually take to put on all the paint?
Well, the application was about 5 hours to get it all on. Whether there were 4 to 5 makeup artists doing it or 1 makeup artist doing it, we did it at all different capacities, and it was 5 hours getting that shit on. I had to stand still, nude, with the artist for those 5 hours. A pre-call every morning with the makeup department and John. And it was pretty hardcore. It was like doing yoga for like 5 hours because I couldn't sit down. I had to stand very still and move how they needed me to move, but I couldn't sit down because then that would mess up the work, and we'd have to retouch, and then that throws time into your schedule and throws everything off. So time is very valuable when you're shooting low-budget B movies because you don't have a lot of it because you don't have a lot of money. So you everything's always scheduled so tightly. So I used that angst of not being able to sit down basically till lunchtime. I shot a 12-hour day, and then it was about a 2.5-hour take off where the rubbing me down with remover, showering and scrubbing, more remover, another shower and scrubbing. So I was working around a 20-hour day when I was playing that character. So I just used that insanity into her insanity.
Well, which is worse, actually, getting it on or taking it off?
Getting it off because, at the end of the day, it's so thick. It's like a suit. I mean, many people have thought it was a suit, that I was wearing a really, really tight latex suit. But it was not. It was full paint from my mid-thigh, 'cause she was wearing stockings and knee-high boots, all the way up to my face. I had a wig, the boa, the gloves, the tail. But, it was paint. It was paint only. To clarify, if there are any still naysayers out there going, that was absolutely not body paint the way it was just painted onto my actual flesh. So I worked out hardcore before we were shooting yoga and hiking and stairs and everything else to get as fit as possible because they basically just drew the lines on of her design onto my physique. And people were like, that's a suit. That couldn't possibly be your body. That's my body, bitches. And it was very stressful doing all of that because it was the workout was a crazy amount of time, and then doing the role was like a workout. So during lunchtime, I just kind of like brought my yoga mat and laid down and rolled around in my dressing room because it was the only time I could relax.
Yeah. I've really studied the HD video, and I could tell it wasn't a suit. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you. It's not a suit. I'm commando and everything. I mean, even the executive producer after the first one, we were going in to do the 4th film, and we were talking about, the requirements and this and that. And he was, he was kind of basically like, well, it's just the same suit. We were all like, Luchago was like, Charlie, that's not a suit. Like, you thought it was a suit? Like, we're not using his body. And he was like, what? And, like, was such a fan of Batty Boop and had to go back and watch certain things and was like, that's incredible. Like, Charlie is such a fan of Batty, which I love him for that.
Yeah. Does it get cold, just being in body paint? And a boa, I guess?
You would think, but no, because on set there are so many goddamn lights, and in the studio you can't run the air conditioning because it'll compromise your sound. So it was hot, and we shot the 3rd one in China where it was like 100 degrees and 100 degrees humidity, where everybody was just dying. And I didn't say a word because I'm standing there nude, but I'm still sweating or whatever. And we shot the other 2, 4, and 5 in studios in LA during the summertime, each of them, actually late summer into the fall, where it was still very hot in Los Angeles. So again, people were wearing, like Al Burke, who played Punchy, was wearing wool, and so was Trent Haga, who played Killjoy. So me standing there underneath those lights, not being able to run the air conditioning, fully nude, even though I was sweating balls, I wasn't going to say a word because I wasn't wearing anything really. So I can't complain.
You mentioned you couldn't sit down because it's gonna rub off the paint, I guess. So when you're filming the movie, how often do they have to touch up the paint?
Very seldomly. We John Luchago and I work really well together, where we both prepare like maniacs and just hit the ground running. And I love working like that, and I love working with him. So my performance as Batty Boop in Killjoy 3, 4, and 5, I mean, 99.9% of it was all just one take. I did so much preparation. We'd get in there to shoot the Batty scenes, and John would be like, great, we got it, we're moving on, this is fantastic, so we can catch up on our schedule or get ahead of ourselves or get through the day and not feel like we're behind. We didn't touch it up that much. It really started to peel. It was incredibly, incredibly hot when we were shooting the 5th one, and it really started to peel on that, where we were kind of trepidatious about taking the time for touch-ups because we had a longer script but a shorter shooting schedule than the other films, which is crazy. So we decided, since Batty and Killjoy were turning mortal and becoming more human in the 5th one, that we would just let the paint peel and go and start to show my fair ass skin underneath of it coming out to kind of make her a little more human, and we were a little soft with the voice. But I just banged her out. Like, if I had to do more than one take, it was because of a technical difficulty or just a really specific note that John just wanted an option of something different. But we tried not to touch up too much. We took a lot of time with touch-ups on the 3rd and the 4th one. So the 5th one with the shorter schedule, we had to be creative.
So what's your chemistry like with Trent Haga, who plays Killjoy?
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's fireworks. It's sparks. I love him. I love working with him. What he's created with Killjoy is iconic, I think, and I just loved it. And I was so nervous my very first day of shooting the 3rd film back in China that I came to the set in tears telling John Lechago how nervous that I was, and I just didn't want to let him down. And I had gotten sick that morning in my hotel room and stuff, like sick to my stomach. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. So I was just so nervous about, well, what am I doing? Like, what am I taking on? And when I stepped on the set, I got the tail end of a scene that Trent was shooting, and he was just so phenomenal. I thought, okay, like, you did the preparation, just do your thing. And I felt when we got shooting the first scene, I just felt fantastic. I kind of lost myself in her and just became her and was her. And Trent kind of works the same way. So working with him is just like a dream. I wish that I just had every scene only with him, and we could just shoot together just one whole film with just Batty and Killjoy.
So when can you get the figure?
It'll be available worldwide via fullmoondirect.com and my new website, victoriademar.com, which will go live mid-September. They'll be available and able to purchase online anywhere you are mid-September. I don't have an actual date yet. I had only gotten the photo from the manufacturer that the CEO of Film Collectibles sent me, that they're being actually packaged and shipped as we speak, the first little shipment going out. So we don't have an actual date of arrival, just an approximation.
Yeah. So how would you compare the body paint to being to filming bioslime when you're covered in slime?
That was a little more difficult with the slime because I could have been in that in a 12-hour day. The slime or the material that they use for the slime, I can't remember what they call it. It's some kind of glycerin-y something. I don't know. The makeup department would be slapping me in the face right now for not remembering because I've used it quite a few times in films. But it is so goopy and like crazy insane. You could only have it on for a scene or two at a time. You absolutely couldn't wear it all day long. And that was like the longest shower of my life in bioslime shooting those days when I was the goopy creature, because that crap does not come out of your hair. And I have very thick, wild, curly, afro, insane hair. And trying to get that glycerin shit out of my hair. I mean, I was like in the shower for literally like 3 hours, coming out still all soaped up and shampoo into the makeup room and going, how the fuck do you have something to get this out of my hair? And they're like, no, just keep washing. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is never going to come out. I totally regret this. But it was hell. So that was my memory of that slime crap, which is so difficult to work with. The body paint was like a latex like paint, or it was paint when it went on, but it was almost like a latex material. I'm not even sure that it was exactly latex. You know, I'm an idiot for not being able to tell you these technical terms after all these years of playing that role. But ask Tom Devlin. Have him on, and he'll tell you.
I will definitely ask him.
He was also the makeup artist on Bioslime. That was the first time that I met him.
Did you have a prosthetic tongue in Bioslime?
I did not. I used my own tongue, and then John and his insanely phenomenal special effects that he does all himself. He created that bio slime tongue for me. Yes.
All right. I was wondering there when you first said use your own tongue. I was like, well, I don't know about that, but I could see they would they added something in post.
Yeah, I use my own tongue for the moment, for the movements in the scene and the creature, and then in post production they embellish that with a little CGI.
I gotcha. Nope. When last time we had you on, it was for Werewolf in a Women's Prison, and I see that Vampire in a Women's Prison is out. Is that a sequel to Werewolf in a Women's Prison?
Yes, it's actually Dracula in a Women's Prison. Yes, which is. We had been talking about doing a sequel to Werewolf for years and years and years. And then finally, Jeff Leroy, Vincent Blanchio, Nick Melillo, and I got together, who had created the first one, and we're like, we have to do this. And Nick was changing studios, and he's like, we got to do this now and bang them out before I move. And so we're like, let's do it. So we shot Dracula in a Women's Prison and Frankenstein in a Women's Prison. We were going for the 4 Universal monsters.
Oh, nice.
Luchago had pitched an idea of doing the Mummy in a Women's Prison and having that 4-film series, but Nick decided to just go with the 3. So we shot Dracula and Frankenstein back to back. Dracula is out now. It's available to rent or buy on Vimeo on demand. Mm-hmm. And it is the funny, in my opinion, just as a film fan and lover, it is the funniest, sexiest film I have ever seen. It's insanity. If you saw or liked the first one, if you're a fan of the first one, you're going to go apeshit for the second one because it delivers everything that you want to see and you would expect to see and more, especially being like 11 years later. Uh-huh. So the only returning cast member is me. I'm also in Frankenstein in a Women's Prison. I play both main characters, sisters in Dracula in a Women's Prison, so it's me opposite me and me and me. So again, if you enjoy my ridiculousness as Sarah Ragdale in the first one, you'll love me as Liz and Rachel in Harker in the second one. The third one, Frankenstein in a Women's Prison, they're not necessarily. I mean, there's a through line to the series,
right? But they're like standalone.
They're not necessarily sequels of they're not necessarily sequels of each other with the story. They're standalone films. You don't have to see the others to get what's going on or follow it. But the bookend to the series was Frankenstein, and Tasha Takosa plays Dr. Frankenstein, and I play a fabulous role, supporting role actually in the third one, that is just awesome and phenomenal, which was the perfect way to go out on the In a Women's Prison feature series.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you ever do the Mummy and any of the future ones, I think the Invisible Man would have a good time in a women's prison.
Oh, that is such a good idea. You should pitch it to Me Films. Let's do it.
All right. Very good. Now, I know we don't have a lot of time here, and I'm sorry, and maybe we'll have you back if you're cool with that, and we could talk more in depth about some of the stuff. But can you let people know some of the other films that you have coming out that they can look forward to?
Yeah, thanks so much, Neal. I'd love to come back anytime. Your show is fantastic. I have a bunch of things that just came out. The Black Room, starring Natasha Henstridge, directed by Rolf Konevsky. If you're a fan of his work, and pretty cool too, you'll love this film. It's a sexy horror film. It's out on Amazon Prime. It's on video on demand. It had a nice run at the Laemmle Musical Theaters in Beverly Hills, California, where it premiered. But it's not playing theatrical anymore, so you can get it online, which is fantastic. The Blessed Ones came out, directed by Patrick O'Bell, who's a dear friend of mine. It's a fantastic cult thriller horror film that is actually available at family video stores. There may be one in your town. There's 750 or over 750 nationwide stores and in Canada of the Family Video stores. And I'm just so grateful to Family Video for having us, because I'm back in a video store, because when Blockbuster went down, I was heartbroken. Mm-hmm. So I'm thrilled that we're at the Family Video stores, but you can also rent it or stream it on Amazon Prime. It's also on VOD. So check your local cable listing or whatever service that you have. Of course, you got to rent or buy Dracula in a Women's Prison. I mean, if you rent it, you get it for like 7 days, to have it, and you're going to want to watch it over and over. So you got to watch Dracula in a Women's Prison. You just have to on Vimeo on demand. and The Holy Man, which is actually the first film. It's an action drama film, and Javier Calderon directs it and stars in it. And people, you have to see this film. This guy is a dynamo. He is so amazing. Just the thought of him and his performance in this film gives me goosebumps. It's called The Holy Man. You can get it on Amazon. And I play his beautiful wife, and that's the first time I've ever really played that kind of character. So it would be, if you're a Victoria DeMar fan, it'd be really cool to see me in a totally different way, not playing a demon or a slime monster or a rat girl or some crack whore from hell. It's a very different role for me, so you might enjoy that. And my new hard rock single, Raw, is out everywhere you download and stream your music online, so check that out as well. Don't forget to go to my new website, victoriademar.com, and purchase a Batty Boop collectible resin doll statue in mid-September as well.
Very cool. Well, thank you for coming on. It's always nice to talk to you, and like I said, we'll make it more quicker than 10 years this time.
Yeah, so it's too long. It's too long. We're going to have to do it quicker this time. Thank you so much for having me on, Neal. I really, really appreciate it. Your show rocks. I love being without my head on your show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on. You're always fantastic.
Thank you, Neal. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, this is Tim Baum from Braindead. You're listening to withoutyourhead.com.